guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary and high school age. Today I'm going to do a mid-year homeschool update. So let's get into it. Okay guys, we just started back to our second semester on January 6th. I'm actually feeling quite good about how things are going. I wasn't sure if I was going to start on the 6th or if I would wait until the next week, and ultimately I decided that we would just start on the 6th. But instead of being all in on all of our subjects, we're kind of easing in. We're doing most of our subjects, just not the government, economics, and personal finance courses from Guest Hollow. We're going to start those next week. I still needed a little bit more time to wrap my head around everything second semester. We are not making any changes to our curriculum for the second semester. There are rarely times when I make big changes in the middle of our homeschool year. For the most part, what I decide during the summer before we start our homeschool year is what we end up using. However, there are always little added additions and extra things that I like to do. But for the most part, we are just staying the course and trying to finish up our second semester strong. So if you've seen any of my goals videos this year, you will know that I am definitely leaning into slow. My word of the year is create, but I almost feel like it also has to be slow. I'm learning to slow down, to work on singular tasks rather than trying to multitask a lot of things. And I'm bringing that over into our homeschool as well. I want this semester to be fun for the kids. It's harder in the winter months here in Maine because it's so cold. We don't like to go outside. I know that there's no such thing as bad weather and you just have to have the right gear, but for us, it's just not fun. Like today, it is super windy. The feels like temperature is 0. There is no snow, and that's just not ideal. So instead, we lean into hygge homeschooling, which to me, it's not necessarily candles and music, although that can be part of hygge, and it is a part of hygge. For us, that means doing a lot of read alouds and reading together and just having quiet days and not being so rush about things, especially after a busy holiday season. If you get into January and you are just hit the ground running, for my family, that doesn't work. And so I kind of forgot about that as I was thinking about second semester and starting again for the second semester. It's something that we always do, but I was kind of thinking, oh, we just got to get right back into everything, but we don't. There is no reason that we can't slowly ease into our year, just like I'm kind of easing into 2025 with all of my goals and home reset and all of that kind of stuff. I realized that just taking some time to ease into the new year is what we needed. And so that's how we've started our second semester, and it's been going really well. Now, of course, we're only a few days into it when I'm recording this video, so obviously always subject to change. But I wanted to take a few minutes and kind of update you and let you know some of our plans for second semester. I did do a whole recap of the first semester, going over all the curriculum that we're using and everything like that. So I will leave that linked in the description box for you if you are interested in checking that out. One of the things that I really want to focus on for the second semester is to go back to the way that I have our specific days laid out, and that's primarily for Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesdays are our passion project day and Fridays are our screen-free day. And in the fall, we kind of adhered to these. However, it was not the way that I wanted to. If you watch that last update video, my homeschool update on the first semester, we were so busy. We were doing some travel. We had a lot of different projects that we were working on. And so it was challenging to actually adhere to those days where I set aside for passion projects and I set aside for just analog learning. What ended up happening was my older kids were still doing their online subjects for school on Fridays. Lucy was still using, YouTube when she was done with school. We would take a few hours off from screens, but it wasn't the way that it has been in the past. And so I really want to get back to that. And part of that is just reminding myself that it's okay to slow down, that the schedule that we have can adjust and we're never really behind. I think that sometimes I feel like we are behind, but we're not actually, because we're charting our own course. I mean, obviously we want to be done with curriculum by the end of the year, but we do have a lot of flexibility as to when things are done. And so just getting back into a good rhythm of having, just our core classes on Wednesday, and just getting that morning stuff done early, and then having the rest of the day to work on passion projects. And then Friday, making that more of a reading day or whatnot, or going someplace else to spend the day doing school somewhere else, like the library or Barnes & Noble or the coffee shop or something like that, so that we're kind of removing ourselves from some of the temptation of screens. And this also falls on me because I try to take Friday off from most of my work related stuff. I do have my communication routine and the general stuff that I need to do first thing in the morning before my kids get up, but I want to spend the rest of the day managing my time differently, and instead leaning into, reading and puzzles and games and just spending time with my kids and such. So that is going to be something that we're going to be working on this year. I kind of have to try a couple of different things, and then just letting go of some of my expectations will also be helpful. So that's kind of the first place that I wanted to chat about for our second semester update. The next thing that I need to focus on in the second semester is kind of future planning with Emma primarily, but also with Jack. Now, Jack is doing a little bit more of an unconventional high school course load. I mean, he is still doing geometry, but he's not doing traditional biology, which would be the lab science course that he would normally have sophomore year. And I did do biology with Emma, and she hated it, and that's totally okay. And in retrospect, I should have adjusted. I put her very much on a typical college prep trajectory, and that was kind of what we had discussed all along the way. And honestly, going into biology that year, her future plans were partly arts and writing and such, but also she was really interested in veterinarian science. So I thought that it was the right way to go. It was not. She's definitely much more suited for the arts. And so understanding that was a little bit of a challenge. But then this year, I thought, instead of putting Jack in a traditional biology class, I'm going to let him do something relating to computers, because that's what he's really interested in. He's really interested in creating video games. He's really interested in animation and digital music production. My dog is in here dreaming, so if you hear little noises, it's her. So I did not put him in biology this year. Instead, he is doing Unity gaming through CompuScholar, and he's really excelling at that course and doing a great job. He's done digital music production. He finished that in the first semester. And so it's a little bit of a more independent study year almost for him, rather than the traditional public school college prep course load. Now, he is still doing government economics and personal finance. He's still doing geometry. Those are kind of more traditional courses for him, but giving him a lot of freedom to work on computer coding and video game creation and animation and music production and all of that stuff, I think has been really valuable, and I want to continue that. And I just want to have open dialogue with Jack, and then especially with Emma, because she is in her last year of homeschool high school. And I've mentioned this several times. If she were in public school, she would be a junior. That is her peer class. That is her cohort. All of her friends are juniors this year. And she always had the expectation of graduating around, the spring of when she turned 17 and then going off to college. But since she has gotten into high school, that has changed a little bit. And so now we're kind of unsure of what her next steps are. And we do have a lot of different options. I know I've mentioned them before. She has the opportunity to go to community college for free. In the state of Maine, they have that option to go for 2 years for a degree for free. She has the option to go away to college. She could do dual enrollment classes. I can continue to enroll her as a homeschooler, and she can have access to dual enrollment classes. But we're kind of unsure of what the next steps are. And so this semester is going to be a lot of meetings with her and exploring different opportunities and trying to figure out what is the best path. And it may just be that she takes a couple of classes at the University of Maine and she stays at home and she gets like a part-time job and continues to work on her writing throughout the next year as she's trying to figure out what's next, and then maybe start college with all of her peers in the next year. Or maybe she won't go to college, or maybe she'll start her own business. There's just a lot of opportunity, and I don't want to force her to grow up too quickly because, like I said, she is a year ahead. So I do feel like we have a little bit of wiggle room as far as what's next, but because of that wiggle room, there are a lot of options, and we're just unsure of which direction she ought to go. So there's going to be a lot of meetings. In fact, it's one of my monthly projects on my goals for this month to sit down and start to brainstorm some of the ideas and just kind of map them out, so that she has a good visual representation of the options that she has. We will see, but that is the next thing that I need to focus on this second semester, is meetings with Jack and Emma and just figuring out the path that they ought to be on. Now, Lucy is in 4th grade, and so she has a little while before we have to focus on that. But one of the things that I will start to do this, winter and early spring is to start to think about new curriculum for her for next year. I think that I've come to the understanding that she works best in a project-based environment. She does still glean a lot of information from literature-based learning. However, she does a lot better and has a better attitude about school as a whole if she is having some hands-on projects to work on while she's learning. So I've got to figure out some different ideas for that. We've used Sunlight since 2010, and so it's a little bit jarring to think of different curriculum options. And so I kind of have to figure that out. And there are a lot of project-based learning packages through Sunlight, so we may still go that way. For instance, this year, Lucy has been using the elections unit study from Sunlight and has really enjoyed that quite a bit. So maybe one of the lap books or something for next year, we'll just have to kind of see. That's later in the second semester. I don't necessarily have to think about that. But really for Lucy, we are just going to continue on the course that she's on and just try to continue to make progress in her math facts. We're doing fractions right now and she's doing a great job with that. We just need to shore up her math facts and make sure that the recall is a little bit faster so that she can move through it a little bit quicker. And then the last part of my homeschool update is something that I have talked about already this homeschool year, but it is not something that has happened. And that is the personal development resources that we are using for Emma and Jack for the second semester. It does kind of relate to that future planning that I talked about. I think it was back in 2020 or 2019 that I started doing personal development with my older 2 kids. A lot of it is time management, project-based work, learning to set goals and break those down into manageable steps, future planning in general, all of those types of things I think are really valuable skills that kids don't necessarily learn in a good way before they graduate high school. I know that there are some super organized kids that like to make charts and like to plan and like to do that. That was me growing up, but I feel like I was more the exception rather than the rule. I liked to do all of those things, probably because my mom enjoyed them. And the kids do enjoy those things, but they're not necessarily naturally inclined to those things. They are skills that need to be learned. And so in the first semester, I thought I was going to have a lot more time to do personal development stuff, specifically on Fridays. I feel like we've mainly done personal development on Fridays, sometimes on Wednesdays as well, just because it's a lighter school day with the screen-free day, and it seemed like a good time to work on those types of things. But like I said earlier in the video, because we were so busy in the fall, we weren't actually really adhering to Fridays being a screen-free day, or we just had so much work to catch up on because we were gone earlier in the week that it just I didn't have time for it. Now, this is not a class that I am giving my kids a grade for or giving them even academic credit for. Could it be on their transcript as, personal development, half credit? Absolutely. But it's just something extra that I like to do with my kids. And so the 2 books that I have that I want to start going through, the first one is Home Ec for Everyone. I talked about this in my curriculum choice videos. I think that it's a really great resource. As I've gone through it, it talks all about all of the, home ec things. There's There's tons on cooking, sewing, laundry, domestic arts, and life skills. And so I really like this resource. I got it off of Amazon, and we're just going to kind of go through it as needed just to make sure that the kids have a good foundation in home ec. And then the second book that I have that I got more for Emma than for Jack, but I'm going to read it to both of them, is How Teens Win by Jon Acuff. Last year, I read the book, was it last year or the year before? I got the book, it's the teen version of his soundtracks book. I'll put a picture up here, which Emma really, really liked. And in fact, she's reading it for a second time right now. I saw this book, and even though I was not a huge fan of Jon Acuff's Goals book that came out last year, or came out in the recent past, sorry, I don't understand time anymore, I thought that this would be something good for the kids to go through, and so we are going to be starting this as well. And so that is kind of my update for second semester. I'm really excited. It's a little crazy to me because in the middle of our break in December, Emma said, I think that I want to graduate in the spring. And she hadn't said that before. It was always, you know, an option or a possibility, but I didn't really think, oh, she's definitely going to want to graduate this spring. But now she does. She wants to have a party and, you know, kind of celebrate all of the work that she's done, which I think is really important. So we'll see. Planning for the future is something that is going to be a huge focus for us for this second semester. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this little peek into our homeschool and how we're starting off 2025. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about, please leave me a comment or you can email me. My contact form is always in the description box. If you'd like more help and encouragement around home and homeschool and goals, I would love for you to come check out my membership community. That link is also always in the description box. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and I will see you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye.